Dad, if you ever were around him long enough, always introduced himself by liking himself unto Job. And he always says, not because he felt the Lord was unfair to him, but because he said, my daughters are fairest in the land. He always had a way of buoying those up around him. Though my father only claimed his fair daughters as the key factor that made him like unto Job, I witnessed that Dad was much more like unto Job of old than he would ever admit to being. Dad, like Job, had complete confidence in the Lord. He testified of the shortness of life. And understood how this life is a time to prepare to meet God again. He did this with all of his might, mind, and strength. And anyone who knows him knows that to be true. Just as Job, Dad tirelessly sought the Lord and asserted his own righteousness. Dad's conviction and courage to stand for righteousness, though he was defiled and mocked and eventually slain. He never, not once, abandoned his trust in the Lord.
There's something that all of us really could agree about our dad, and that was that he was such a comforter to each of us. In our moments of hardship or weakness, he was always there to extend a warm embrace and to just hold us. And it's just with the way things turned out, I'll always have ingrained in my mind my father's last moment here on earth. And the hardest part for me about it is there was nobody there for him. Nobody was there to hold him in their arms. The one who held me. But I know, I absolutely know, that was such a short moment. And his Father in heaven was there to bring him home with that same embrace. And I'm so grateful for my Savior Jesus Christ, who has made that possible. I know that families are forever.
Several years ago, my dad shared this quote with me. It says, "A good man draws a circle around him, and in it he cares for his family, his wife, and his children. A great man draws a larger circle, including his brothers, his friends, and protects them as he would his family. But then there is a rare man who has a special destiny. His circle extends beyond boundaries to include the world of innocents who lack the will to defend themselves." And I think it's quite evident who my dad was. And when he shared this quote with me, I didn't really like it because I understood that it often drew my dad away from us to help so many other people. And I'm so grateful for my dad. I love him very much, and I miss him. Well, this is the first person close to me that has passed away, but it's funny how it's just the really little things that you think about and that make you most sad and that you miss most. And one of those things for me was his singing to me. When I was little, I would listen to the radio and I would hear a country song and I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, it's Dad!" And I would ask all my siblings, "Is this Dad?" And they said, "No, this isn't Dad on the radio." And I thought, they just don't know. Nothing I told them. I have to remember the song so I could go ask him later. And that's what he did. I mean, he always sang to us every night. I mean, he would sit in his rocking chair and he would sing songs to us. We'd be lucky if we got to sit on his lap, you know. Just for the record, he never actually did sing on the radio. But most people, if you've ever sung next to him, most people probably wonder if he knows a version of that song that maybe they don't. But he's still, a lot of people think he's just very tone deaf, but he's still the best singer I've ever heard. And that's definitely going to be one of the things that I miss most. One of my favorite songs he sang to us was 500 Miles, that's what we call it. And for the last couple of years, every time I went home, I just wanted to record him singing it so that I could have it for my kids, you know, they could hear that. And I never did. But it's okay. And I can still sing to my kids. And I know that he'll be there singing with me sometimes. My dad was a trickster. He loved to play pranks on us and anybody that came into our home. He loved to play games. And when I was really little, we would play plastic sword fights. We would play kick the can. We'd have paintball wars. We'd play endless board games and card games. He'd tease everybody that came by with passes to you with a swipe on the cheek, or going to heaven on an ironing board, or defending Lake Erie. He was a lot of fun. When we were in high school, he would always make it a point to go and play the sports that we were involved with as a family. He was really supportive. He loved us a lot. Most of all, my dad taught us how to follow Christ. My dad loved God more than anything, and Christ was his exemplar. He always took us to church. He always encouraged us to attend our meetings, and always had family prayer in the morning and evening and with every meal. Always had us read our scriptures morning and night. Family home evening every Monday night. His number one priority was to be like Jesus and to make it back home to our Heavenly Father. Jesus Christ was crucified to free us all from death. And my dad was murdered while defending liberty so that we may have freedom from bondage.
Love thy neighbor. That's what he taught me since I was a very little boy. And that's always been one of my greatest strengths, and still is up to this day. Is to serve one another with deep love. I've seen so many examples through my father reaching out to others, even though we may not have much at the time. But he went with full joy and love to help that person, to lift them up when they needed a hand. I remember driving towards up to the ranch, and there was a person that was wrecked on the side of the road. I was barely awake. He helped that person when everyone just got driving. Gave that person the help it needed. Helped my Aunt Jerry, his sister, a full load of semi and a full of hay. We come from 6 hours, come all the way out there just to help him unload it. And he didn't hesitate. He never hesitated. He never hesitated with his family either. His love was so great. He made sure no one was left out. He would get creative to get everyone involved, even though it was limited. I just want to say that I am behind you, I'm beside you. I'm so grateful for everything you have done for me and my family. I'm grateful for the man you made me to be. And I will continue to strive to be just like the Savior, like you tried to be him, like him. When I was a kid, my English was high. And he's able to bring it down for me to understand. And I knew perfectly. I felt the Spirit right through him. And his love. I am because of him. And I will carry on this word and this gospel is spread for those who have never heard. And feel this blessing and this love.
When I was a little girl, I was obsessed with princess movies. I wanted to be a princess and I wanted a Prince Charming. And I got one. Kids were wondering. But I once, when I was into my teenage years, realized guys weren't all that nice sometimes. I remember going to my dad and being like, Dad, there's no Prince Charmings left. Like, Mom already got you, and the Disney ones aren't real. And I remember him saying, Daughter, there are. And he'd open the scriptures and like, this Captain Moroni, I would approve if you married him. Or Melchizedek, or, all these great guys. It's like, there's plenty, you just have to find them. And he's been my hero. He's always been my hero. And I'm kind of selfish. I don't like sharing my hero. Whenever I needed him, he was there. 3 o'clock in the morning was probably the most common time I called my house, because I knew for sure he was home. And he would answer by the second ring. The reason he was my hero is because he was always there, and he always stood. He always stood for what was right. And he was so brave. My dad was the bravest guy I knew. Except for my husband, because he married me. But, I'm so grateful for who he was, because when push came to shove, he was still brave. He wouldn't hesitate a moment to save other people's lives. And I am so grateful for that man that saved other people's lives, because he really is a true hero now. He's not just mine. He's all of ours.
One of the quotes that just really gives me comfort is one from President Benson, and it says this. It says that the fight for freedom is God's fight. So when a man stands for freedom, he stands with God. And as long as he stands for freedom, he stands with God. And were he to stand alone, he would still stand with God. And man will be eternally vindicated and rewarded for his stand for freedom. And that's where I get a lot of my comfort. Thanks, Lord. You're welcome.
So, brother, I ask you, are you going to stand by me?